Take her away, Ian.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Fell over? What you fell over for?
Out for a little walk in the moonlight.
7:30. Where were we at 7:30?
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Turn to page 394.
You foul, loathsome, evil little cockroach!
I didn't mean to.
Mischief managed.
You and your bloody chicken.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Retold, the podcast where I retell you my favorite story of all time, Harry Potter. Every single week, I go through 2 chapters of the books at a time, recapping what happens, having some extra segments filled with trivia, lore, behind-the-scenes things, favorite lines, all that good stuff. And at the very end of the episode, we have a spoiler section called the Restricted Section. Ooh, also known as the Prisoner of Azkaban for this book. I'm very clever, I know. Anyway, I never take this journey alone, though. Every single week, I have a guest with me. And so with me today, reviewing chapters 7 and 8 of the Prisoner of Azkaban, I have the best man from my wedding. I was best man at his wedding. So needless to say, I think we're friends. Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Hey, everybody. My name is Zach. It's great to be here. I'm so excited to be on the podcast.
Yeah, and we're happy to have you. Zach is one of the millions of loyal listeners I have. There's millions of you out there, so really he's just a drop in the bucket.
I'm really just listening millions of times.
But I'm glad Zach could be here. Just real quick about us. We grew up together. We've known each other since middle school. Like we said, best men at each other's weddings. Been through a lot of life together. Had similar obsessions growing up, similar loves for Taco Bell, Zaxby's, and Domino's Pizza, and the Friends TV show. This is going to be great, Zach. One thing I was thinking of, I don't think I wrote down any Friends references for this episode, but there are times, and there have been throughout these episodes with this podcast, that I would say a Friends joke and my co-host would not get it. And I was like, Zach would get it.
That's right. I laugh at all the jokes that Barry makes, and nobody else laughs, but I laugh. I'm laughing.
I'm laughing too. I laugh at my own jokes several times when I make them, when I edit them, when I play it again. But yeah, so Zach's my good buddy. Happy to have him on. And we're going to hop into it because it's already a late night, listeners. All right. I don't know what time you're listening to this, but it's the witching hour over here, the hour of the wolf, as it were. I don't know what any of that means, but it is the hour of the werewolf, as it were. Ooh, Prisoner of Azkaban. But anyway, chapter 7 and 8. We're going to get it kicked off. Zach, you know the deal. Every single episode, I ask my co-host what their fandom ID is. And so essentially what that means is, for listeners who haven't heard before, I ask my co-hosts what their favorite, what Hogwarts house they're in, what Hogwarts house they're in, what's their favorite Harry Potter movie, favorite Harry Potter book, and how they got into Harry Potter. So take it away, Aaron.
All right. So I always thought that I'd be a Ravenclaw when I was in school, because I thought I was super smart, but everyone keeps telling me, and so did the Harry Potter website, that I am a Hufflepuff. And apparently it's because I'm an absolute duffer, just a complete duffer, just duffing it up. Hufflepuff is where it's at. It's because I'm a super loyal fella, is what I'm told. My favorite book is Goblet of Fire because of the great twist. And even if you watch the movie the first time and half pay attention, the book still, with the extra detail, has great twists. My favorite movie is Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, as it should be called.
Ooh, you're so bilingual.
Cool. I speak both Englishes. That one's a special one for me because it was my favorite one growing up. And it's just, everything's exciting about magic. There's nothing super duper scary. Like, every bit of magic is just super exciting. And Harry's like, this is amazing.
Oh, boy.
And so are we. Oh boy. And how I got into it, I watched the first 2 movies, and then I realized that my brother had all of the books. And I was like, maybe I should read these.
Maybe we could make a deal.
Maybe. So that's how I got into it. It was 2 movies and then read all the books. And then the rest of the movies came out. So,
and the rest
not super
is
exciting.
Beautiful
but I love
history. No, I love that. Your story is important, Zach. All right. Thank you for
Thanks for
sharing.
lying.
You are seen, you are heard, you are beautiful. Now, listeners, what we do here is we hop into our Quizzitch section. So again, if you're new here, every single season, and I call me going through one book a season, I have a running challenge. I arrogantly state that I am the most knowledgeable Harry Potter fan of all time, and I put that to the test scientifically, listeners. All right. I'm proving this factually. By the end of this, there will be no denying it because I'll back it up with science. But
quite the sample size you got here.
Yeah. My 3 friends. But every single co-host I have on, I will ask them usually 2 questions, sometimes more. They ask me 2 questions based on trivia questions based on the chapters that we discussed. That we're discussing in this episode. And so in book 1, and then I keep track of it, and by the end of the season, we see who got more points correct, me representing myself, or my guests who represent the world. Book 1, I won. I beat the world. Book 2, I lost just barely. I also won just barely on book 1. And right now, I think it's pretty close. I actually recorded some of the episodes out of order already. So I don't know exactly what the score is, but Future Barry will come in and say it right here. Hello, Future Barry here. The score, not as close as I thought it was. Guests are in the lead at the moment, 5-3. But we'll see what happens after this round of Quizzitch. Back to the show. And so that's the score. Wow, crazy. Impressive, right? But we're going to hop into it now. So, Zach, you ask me your questions first. And ask me your question first, and then I'll ask you mine, and we'll go back and forth like that.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, Barry might be my best friend, but don't worry. I'm not going to throw it on purpose so that he wins. Unless I get all of his questions wrong, then I absolutely threw it just for him.
Mm-hmm. Just to be kind.
The first question, Barry, is how many rat spleens are needed for a shrinking solution?
7.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Ooh, so close. The answer is 1.
Dang it. So close.
Snape tells Neville, Neville, did I not say that only 1 rat spleen is needed?
Rats. Get it, rats. No, I said 7 because I got a trivia question wrong one time that was numbers based, and the answer was 7. And I was like, of course it is for Harry Potter. So I was like, anytime I don't know it, if it's a number, 7. Friends reference, everybody. If you know, now you know.
Hope you're watching this.
Yeah. But I got that wrong. So wrong for me. Your question, Zach.
I'm scared. See no evil.
How does one defeat a Grindylow?
A Grindylow? Well, you see, the long fingers on the Grindylow, you break their grip.
The phalanges are brittle.
The phalanges are quite brittle.
Mm-hmm. We put on a whole bunch of extra phalanges just in case. Yes, they are. Yes, you got it right. It's 1-0. Good job, Zach. Ding, 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 ding. All right. What's your next question?
All right. Do you want an easier one, or do you
shut your mouth? Shut your mouth. I knew it too as I was going through. I was like, these chapters are full of just like little tiny details. I was like, frick, I'm not going to remember all this.
All right. But another one from the potions class. It's a twofer. It's a twofer. What did Ron have to prepare for Malfoy's potion, and what did Harry have to prepare?
Ron did the shrivel figs, right? Or I think I get a little bit of a hint since it's a 2-parter. Oh, the turnips, or what? No, potato skins. He had to cut something up into equal pieces, and he said Weasley's mutilated my roots, Daisy roots. So Daisy roots, that's one of them. And then the other one, Harry did. Harry peeled the shrivel fig.
Oh, you're right. You're right on the edge.
I don't know what Harry peeled. What did Harry peel?
I'm gonna give it to you because you said it. It's daisy roots and shrivel figs. You got it.
I just said it. Yeah, I said shrivel figs.
I was gonna say you right on the edge because you said peel, and you got it right when you said it. So I'm gonna give that one to you. I kind of messed you up by saying you're right on the edge. So ding, ding, ding. That's a 2 for 2 1-pointer. I also would have accepted.
I love those.
I also would have accepted slicing caterpillars because that's what Malfoy said, and Ron sliced my caterpillars at the end, but we don't know if he actually does because he just kind of says it, and then
just like that, you ruined the audience quizzage question for the week.
Did I really? I'm so excited.
It was gonna be.
Just cut it out. Cut it out in post.
Oh, no, that wasn't the audience. Okay, we're good. No, it was your third question I had for you. It was going to be, what does Harry behead? And it was a dead caterpillar. But your next question, your second question, what potion were they making in potions class? Well, I guess you already said it. That's not fair. No, forget that. You already said that one. Let me come up with
you want me to.
No. Let me come up with a different question. Hush now.
You want one of mine?
No, I don't want one of yours. All right. How about this? I will ask you the audience quizzage question, and then you can say one of your questions for the audience question this week.
Okay.
So your question is, which one of Peeves' nostrils does Lupin shoot the gum down or up, I guess?
Oh my gosh. Which
you got a 50-50 shot. So
like left or right?
Mm-hmm.
His left, or are we talking audience or
the book just gives a direction. It doesn't say it was Peeves' left or.
All right. I have no idea. So I'm guessing left nostril.
Left is correct. Good job.
50-50.
All right. You got so many questions. Let's do one more each. So
one more each?
You ask me one more and then I'll ask you another, but just
okay.
so audience knows it's 2-1. All
right. What does Lupin say is the true form of a boggart?
He says nobody knows.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, that's my final answer.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Lupin says nobody knows, but we do know for sure that one person in the books knows what the true form of a boggart is.
Well, okay.
And we can talk about that in the restricted section.
Yeah, we'll talk about that restricted section.
And we can talk about
I don't know if I
later.
buy that theory.
So stick around, ladies and gentlemen, until the end of the podcast, and I'll reveal.
Right. All right, your other question. What is Dean afraid of?
Dean. And did you see me with the hand? He's afraid of the hand. I hate you
so much.
The severed hand.
I can't catch up. All right. Yes, that's correct. I mean, I love you. You're so smart, so intelligent. No. All right. So that's 3-2. Congratulations, Zach. You bested me this round. And there you have it. Unfortunately, guests not only maintained their lead, but they widened the gap. So the world is currently beating me 8-5 after this episode. They have their lead on me. Your boy's down, but don't worry, I'll come back. I hope. What is the audience quizzage question for this week? Actually, no. Sorry. Let me answer their question from last week. Last week, their question was, "What did Harry have for breakfast the very first morning at Hogwarts?" And the answer to that question was sausages and fried tomatoes.
That sounds so good right now.
Right? Very easy. Very simple question.
Sausages and fried tomatoes.
Fried tomatoes. All right. And what is the question for this week, Zach?
Ladies and gentlemen, the quiz's question for you fellas, you ladies out there, is when the gang are coming back into the common room, what does Fred say he needs to restock his supply of at Zonko's in Hogsmeade? On the first Hogsmeade weekend, Fred needs some more of something from Zonko's. What is that?
Good question. Good question. So listeners, if you want to answer that question, feel free to write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. And yeah, that's our got your Quizzitch section for this week, everybody. Yay. All right. Now, moving on to the bulk, the meat of the episode. I wanted to stay in Quizzitch so long, just asking questions till I caught up, because I feel like I'm already behind, and this just made it worse. Like I said, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm behind. But
do you want a bonus one?
No, yeah, sure, I do. Actually, it's not going to count for points, but I want to know.
It's not going to count.
Trivia.
It's not going to count. Where are the crew going when this out? Where were the crew headed? When I say crew, I mean Harry, Ron, Hermione. Where were they going when they found Lavender Brown mourning her pet rabbit, Binky?
Transfiguration.
Ding, 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 ding.
Since you remember that it's the pet rabbit Binky, that's going to ruin one of my jokes later, but don't worry, I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited.
Now, moving on now, listeners, what we do at this point is we recap or retell, as it were. Check that out. The chapters for this week. So we're recapping chapters 7 and 8. Chapter 7 is the Boggart in the Wardrobe, and chapter 8 is Flight of the Fat Lady. So we're going to be retelling chapter 7 and 8. At the end of each retelling, we have some extra segments filled with our favorite lines. We have a Transfiguration section where I highlight book to movie differences, things that the movies changed about the books. And then we also have a Golden Snitch section where I highlight behind the scenes things, deep lore, call out stuff from the chapter you might not recognize or know about. Stuff like, who is that wizard on the Chocolate Frog card? Things like that. And then finally, at the very end of the episode, after we do the same thing for the next chapter, we have a restricted section filled with spoilers and all that good stuff. But anyway, hopping in now to chapter 7, I will say straight off the bat, there's a lot of animal cruelty in these chapters, a lot of bad animal juju stuff. And listeners, the way it's going to work is as I recap stuff, Zach is free to interrupt me as he sees fit. He's not being rude. He's doing what I asked him. So Zach, you can chime in whenever you want, or you can let me ramble for several minutes at a time. It does not matter. But here we go. Chapter 7.
We'll interrupt.
Chapter 7, we last left off our heroes. Malfoy had been brutally assaulted by that mean old hippogriff Buckbeak, all right? But Zach, he's being a silly boy, all right? Because he's not really hurt. He's just milking it up, because when he comes into potions class, he's all like, oh, I can't cut my figs, all right? I can't chop my daisy roots. And he gets Harry and, as we mentioned, Harry and Ron to do it for him, puts on a little puppy act, and Snape gets Harry and Ron to do his potions. I feel bad for Ron in this moment because he cut those daisy roots so precisely. It said he spent a quarter of an hour, which is 15 minutes, listeners.
Thanks, Barry.
Yep. He spent a quarter of an hour so precisely cutting his roots up. And then he cuts Malfoy's rather slapdash, and then he doesn't do a good job. And then Snape says, hey, switch him, which is a genius move. I got to give credit where it's due. That is pretty smart on Snape's part. All right.
Severus Snape is canonically smart.
Malfoy does admit that he's mainly doing this to get Hagrid fired. Snape does an abuse to Neville, all right? When he sees his potion, he says that they're going to try Neville's potion on his toad at the end of class, and Hermione cannot help him because Hermione was like, Professor, I can help him out. She's like, he goes, I don't remember asking you to show off. I'm like, dadgum, there's another abuse right there. But my question for this was, why was Neville's toad in potions? Because
toad goes everywhere. Yes,
I guess so. I don't see anybody else carrying their animals around Hogwarts. Ron keeps Scabbers in the classroom. Hedwig stays in the owlry. I don't know why Trevor the Toad is in potions. Maybe his slimy skin is good for ingredients or something. I don't know. So, question, listeners. So Snape doesn't abuse all that stuff. Meanwhile, the boys hear that Sirius Black has been sighted not too far from Hogwarts. He's been sighted. Where? Ducktown. It's not too far from here. Movie references, everybody. Malfoy who, need I remind the listeners, has only ever beat Neville in a fight. You know, that one time he jinxed him and locked his legs together. Malfoy tries to tell Harry that personally, if he heard that Sirius was close by, personally, he couldn't stand for that. All right, he couldn't take that. He'd want to get revenge. He'd want to go after him. And I thought that this was so unbelievable because I was like, Malfoy has ducked a fade so many times. All right, he's avoided so many fights. Like he tried to get them to fight him first year, and then he never showed up that night. He's lost to Ron in a fist fight. Like Ron beat the frick out of him that first year, and he's never beaten Harry at Quidditch. So his athletic ability doesn't really scream, "Hey, I'd beat up a murderer."
Yeah, we're not so sure about that. He would probably just tell his dad. He would say, "I'm gonna tell my dad."
While he's just getting pummeled. My father will hear about this. Shut up, kid.
Which I don't know why he boasts about his dad so much, because that's kind of lame. Like, all your boasting is on your dad.
Dude, your dad got beat up by a house elf last year. What are you talking about?
Yeah, messed up.
Anyway, time to do some animal cruelty. Snape tells the kids to gather around and watch as he messes with Neville's toad. He says it will either turn to a tadpole, which I must say, that's not what a shrinking solution I feel like should do. That's like a time reversal thing, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, turn the toad into a tadpole or it'll get poisoned. Yay! but surprise, surprise, turns out Neville's potion worked right and little Trevor just shrank down to a tadpole. Kids are all hyped for that, but Snape says, oh yeah, and he takes 5 points away from the G's because Hermione helped. All right, when she shouldn't have. That's the only logical conclusion.
Well, she was told not to be a show-off, so
she did break the rule. I'll say that.
Fair enough.
He was.
But
doing
the toad was on the line. The toad was on the line.
Later, they're walking in the hallway, and Ron is mouthing off to Hermione, telling her that she should have lied to Snape, and Hermione must not like lying because when he turns around, she ain't there. All right. She does appear, though. All right, just a little bit later, tucking something away. Probably not suspicious at all. Probably no big deal. Wouldn't worry about it, listeners.
And coming up later.
No. Anyway, they head off to Defense Against the Dark Arts, and I felt bad for the kids because it says Lupin was late to class, and they had all their books laid out. They were ready for him, and then he walks in, and he's like, "Put your books away, y'all." Now, normally that's like a really cool thing, but I remember the few times I actually did get early to class going, you know what, I'll be productive. And I put my stuff out only for the teacher. If the teacher were to be like, we're not doing anything in here today, I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? I already
just
put
got
the
set up.
If you had been 2 minutes earlier, it would have been dope.
Let's take a moment and talk about how Ron is super concerned about what Hermione's up to. How's she getting to her classes?
Mm-hmm.
How is she doing it? She's got so many books. Why is she carrying all the books? And every time he asks, he turns to Harry and he says,
with all the books?
He says, do you not see what's going on here? There's something up. And Harry, I don't know if I've just missed it, but he's like, meh. He
Harry
don't care.
doesn't give a frick, Potter.
he does not care.
And that's
No
what I was going
worries.
to mention is that's what's funny to me about it is Ron is actively concerned. You're right. Ron points it out every time that Hermione just like randomly shows up or that she has too many classes, and Harry just goes, huh. Anyway, he moves on.
That's not my problem.
I feel like Harry's just like, I don't doubt anything at this point. There's so much magic here, and Hermione's Hermione. I'm sure there's probably a reason to this.
They're in the library, probably.
So Lupin takes them by Filch's closet, and little old Peeves is causing mischief. He's putting some gum in a keyhole. He insults Lupin, calls him Loony Lupin. Lupin, unfazed, tells Peeves that he may want to take that gum out, and if he doesn't, then he's going to catch these hands. Peeves, never one to duck a fade though, blows a raspberry at him. Sick move. I like the chutzpah of this Peeves guy. Lupin says, "All right, then you've made me do this," and he hits him with the old waddy wassy, and the gum shoots right up Peeves' nose. His which nostril, Zach?
The left one.
The left one.
The bigger one.
Listeners, I just checked. One of them is bigger. Is it canonical that everybody's left nostril is bigger?
Is canonical the word of the day?
Dude, sometimes I'll like stick my fingy up my nose, and then I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, that nostril's a little bigger than the other one. So then I'll stick my fingy up the other nose. I'm like, I guess I gotta stretch out my other nostril. I'm gonna edit that out.
More science with Barry.
That's how that works. So anyway, they get to the teacher's lounge. Snape is chilling in there, but he's like, I'm on my way out. I love that on his way out, he's like, hey, by the way, Lupin, Neville sucks. It's just like so unnecessary. He's walking out. You suck, kid. He just keeps moving. Lupin,
that kid is bad, and he should feel bad.
And I'm going to make sure of it.
And
Lupin,
people still think Snape's a good guy. I don't get it.
Again,
not a good guy.
Book to movie, biggest transfiguration there is. Lupin, continuing to be cool, says, nah, he doesn't suck. And he asks Neville to help him out with his operation, which is a weird choice of words for that particular thing. So Snape leaves, and Lupin leads everybody to a wardrobe. He says, nothing to worry about, everybody. The only thing hiding in there is your worst fear. And we learn what a boggart is. It's a good setup. He goes, nothing to worry about. It's just a boggart. What's a boggart? Well, it's something that turns into the thing you fear the most. Sounds like we should worry, Lupin. I don't know if you just followed your train of thought there, but it didn't make sense. So Lupin tells them, if you want to beat it, you got to make it look funny and then laugh at it. So laughter kills fear, I guess. All right.
It's the best medicine.
Yeah, not a bad philosophy. What's the moment in Friends when it's like, she goes, silliness is the best medicine. And Chandler's like, that's laughter. And she goes, why do you do this? Anyway, he teaches them the spell ridiculous. See, Zach, I wrote this down as a joke. I was like, see, Zach, what we got here is a boggart problem. All right. And all you got to do now is just hide in that wardrobe. And all you got to do now, take out your wand, point right at it, think of something funny now, and say ridiculous. And then that thing will clear your boggart problem right up. All right. Surefire. Guarantee. So Lupin brings Neville to the front.
Southern Hogwarts.
So Lupin brings Neville to the front, says, hey, it'd be really funny if you put a dress on Snape. Can you do that? Neville says, bet.
Cross-dressing's hilarious.
Yeah, he tells her that his biggest fear is Snape. And Lupin's like, perfect idea. Put him in a dress. So Neville's like, bet. I love when Lupin says, everyone ready? Because I loved it so much that I forgot what I said. So let me get to that part. He says, everyone ready? Said Professor Lupin. Harry felt a lurch of fear. He wasn't ready. He's like, no, freaking not ready. What are you talking about? Lupin, too bad, Harry. We're moving in. The moment of truth now. Time for Neville to shine. And can he do it? Can he make it happen? Can he put Snape in a dress? He can't put Snape in a dress. Golazo! So he does it. He makes Snape look silly. So the students start taking turns beating the frick out of this boggart. He just all gather around. And just ultimate tag team. Get him!
Screaming world star.
Yeah. They got their phones out. Oh, look at this dumb boggart. Pavardi's next. She turns it into a mummy, and she decapitates it. That's so funny, guys.
That's hilarious.
Then she's
not horrifying.
Yeah. Seamus, he sees a banshee. He makes her lose her voice, and it goes on and on. Somebody's afraid of an eye. Dean doesn't like hands, apparently. All right. It turns into a little spooter for Ron, and he rips its legs off. That's so silly, ripping off animal legs.
They did it in the movie really well, I will say.
They did. Yeah. It's about to turn into Harry's worst fear, but at the last moment, Lupin jumps in the way, and Zach, it turns into some strange silvery orb. All right. Lavender later says that it's a crystal ball, and I wonder if she's right.
She's been hanging around in the divination.
Oh, she's been in that divvy so long, bro.
Divvy,
bro. Class ends, but Harry's ticked. He's like, dang, Lupin thinks I'm a soy boy. All right, he thinks I'm soft. and that's how the chapter ends. Yay! So Zach, what are some of your favorite lines from? Let you say one, I'll say one, and we'll bounce back and forth.
All
Favorite
right,
lines
so
from this chapter.
I kind of mentioned it, but one of my favorite lines, I got two favorite lines, is "What would it have been for you?" said Ron, sniggering. "A piece of homework that only got a 9 out of 10." I love that.
So good. She does get a lot of burns on them, and it's nice for Ron to actually have a solid burn on her for once. One of my favorites is I love Lupin standing up for Neville. So that moment after Snape, talks trash on Neville, Lupin says, "I was hoping that Neville would assist me with the first stage of the operation, and I'm sure he will perform it admirably." That's what a teacher should do. All right. Love that. Reading these chapters, I was like, Lupin is the bro. This guy's awesome. But what's another one of your favorite lines, Zach?
So another one of my favorite lines is actually in the same section. And this is going to sound like I'm a Hermione basher, but I'm not. I really like Hermione. I do like Hermione as a character. Precisely, said Professor Lupin when Harry answers the Barter question, and Hermione put her hand down, looking a little disappointed. That whole section, I thought, I like that because I don't know, it just kind of like Hermione's so used to answering questions and putting Harry on the spot, and he's like, "I'm not used to having to answer questions because Hermione answers all the questions," and he gives it a solid go. And then Hermione's a little disappointed. I think it's an interesting character point to her. She's genuinely disappointed in not answering a question.
It's like, listen, Snape shouldn't have called her a show off, but sometimes she is a little bit,
Yeah. I just think it adds some extra depth to the character just in that small moment.
Yeah. I mean, we're all kids wanting to show off what we're good at one point.
I'm not a Hermione basher. I do like Hermione. That's why I point out these things.
Screw her. No. One of my other favorite lines, I liked nearly everyone laughed. Even Neville grinned. This is after he said that Professor Snape is his biggest fear. Nearly everyone laughed. Even Neville grinned apologetically. Professor Lupin, however, looked thoughtful. And what I like about that is like when everybody laughed, it didn't make Neville feel bad. He was like, yeah, that is kind of silly. That is what I feared. Again, you were talking about a good character moment for Hermione. That's a good character moment for Neville.
He doesn't get many.
No, but he gets quite a few in this chapter.
He does.
Did you have any more for this chapter?
No, I just had the two.
Okay, and then my other one is a follow-up to the one I just said. Before when Lupin is asking Neville if he's ready, I like this moment. They all retreated back against the walls, leaving Neville alone beside the wardrobe. He looked pale and frightened, but he had pushed up the sleeves of his robes and was holding his wand ready. I love that. That's textbook Gryffindor. All right.
Yeah.
Bravery is being afraid and doing the thing anyway. And so he is afraid in this moment and stepping up to it.
Yeah, it says the cupboard was shaking, but not nearly as much as Neville. he's about to step up. He's stepping up to the plate.
That shaky leaf is standing its ground.
That's right.
All right, now moving on, listeners. That was all of our favorite lines to our Transfigurations section. Okay, and this is differences that the movies made from the books. And so I got a few right here. Number one. Hermione shows up before they get to the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom in the book. So we were talking earlier when she disappears and then reappears. She shows up again before they walk into class. That's what happens in the book. But in the movie, she shows up while they're actually in class. They're in the classroom, and then she appears, and Ron's like, whoa. That's something to watch for in the movie if you rewatch the third one. Mm-hmm. Ron doesn't always say, where did you come from? Sometimes he just, like Rupert Grint, just like acts surprised. Spooked. Yeah, and that's one of those. Another one is that Parvati's, I'm going out of order here. Defense Against the Dark Arts takes place in the classroom in the movie, but in the book it's in the teacher's lounge. Mm-hmm. But they never show the teacher's lounge in the movies at all. So this particular lesson stays in the classroom. And then Lupin, this was an interesting moment. In the book, Lupin makes a point to like ask Neville what his grandmother wears, and in front of everybody asks him to picture that on Snape. But in the book, in the movie, he just says to Neville, hey, can you remember what your grandma wears? And he starts to say it, and Lupin goes, no, it's okay. If you can see it, we'll see it. So he's like making sure he doesn't say it. And then he whispers to Neville, instead of saying it to the whole class, I want you to picture Snape in your mother's clothes. So they changed that up a little bit. Lupin's a little more discreet in the movie when it comes to this particular moment. And then the other one, Pavarti's boggart is a snake in the movie, not a mummy. Doesn't turn into a mummy that she decapitates. It turns into a snake that she turns into a scary clown, a little like Jack in the Box clown, which I love. Like a lot of fans are like, that's even worse. What are you talking about?
I'd rather face a snake than a giant pop-up clown.
Mm-hmm. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the last one for this chapter, Ron in the book, again, it's the same thing, book to movie, it's a spider. However, with his boggart in the book, he takes its legs off, as we just said. But in the movie, he puts skates on it.
Rollerblades, yeah.
And that's just silly. I like that.
That is much sillier than
dismembering it.
Yeah.
that other one's psychotic behavior, all right? Now, moving on to our golden snitch section, our behind the scenes, lore, tids, and bits, stuff like that. So it was funny. Before I had to go looking for favorite lines because I didn't have that many. And I was going to be like, but don't worry, listeners, I got a bunch of dope golden snitches for you. I was going to hype it up. And then I looked it up and I was like, daisy roots. And it just said, this is a real life thing. It's just the roots of a daisy plant. And I was like, oh, all right.
That's lame.
Well, what about a shrivel fig? And then I was like, oh, I already did that on a previous episode because it appeared in my notes again. I was like, frick, okay. But
Control find.
But then we struck gold with the shrinking solution. Also known as the shrinking potion, was a potion that caused the drinker to shrink to a smaller form. Thus the name. It was bright green when brewed correctly, and if prepared correctly, it could be poisonous. One practical use of this potion was in the transportation of livestock. It allowed for a wizard to carry an entire herd of pigs in their pocket. All right. And some little bit of history on the shrinking solution. I liked this. Sometime throughout wizard history, wizard Samuel Plunkett, who was persecuted by a muggle village, poured shrinking solution down the village well and terrorized the shrunken villagers by chasing them around in hobnail boots. In the 1500s, I know, pretty crazy. I'm going to do a murder. Why not? In the 1500s, accomplished potioneer Zygmunt Budge. It's spelled Zygmunt. Zygmunt.
I'm going to change my name to Zygmunt.
Zygmunt developed his own version of this potion, which, in his words, was the best that you will find. According to Budge, part of the potency of his variation came from stirring the potion after adding the shrivel figs, an unorthodox step. It proved so powerful that when he accidentally spilt a small amount on the grass outside his house, it caused an entire flock of sheep to shrink to lambs the size of woolly mice. Budge went on to use the shrunken lambs as ear warmers in the chilly winters. Budge also sent the potion to the two brothers of Tertius. Both of them shrank to the size of beetles, and so the story goes, spent several days hiding under a cupboard while their cat tried to scoop them out and eat them.
That is such a lovely ending.
Well, and then the last one we hear about is some dude who got eaten by his own toad because the toad thought he was a bug.
Was it Neville?
No, it wasn't Neville. You silly goose. No, it wasn't Neville. All right. And then the other one. Trevor. The next one. Wadi-Wasi. Also known as the projectile jinx. Okay. The hand motion for it is, listeners, you didn't see that. Zach saw it.
I didn't know what I watched.
It's almost like a Jesus fish without the tail.
It's like making a bow.
But you go up with it instead. Anyway, the projectile jinx was a jinx that could be used to propel a small wad of material at high velocity. During the 1890s, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry students would use this spell while dueling to shoot gum at their opponent, causing some damage. All right, and that's really all we get about Wadi-Wasi. And then the next one, the boggart. Okay, there's a frick ton about the boggart, so I'm not going to say all of it, but there's a lot of really cool history about the boggart. Listeners, check that out on the Harry Potter wiki. But a boggart was an amortal shape-shifting non-being. Stop right there, Barry. What does that mean? Essentially, amortal and non-being like means that it was never really alive. So it can't ever die. Like it's something that doesn't have like a genuine life. It's like a force rather than
so
a
the
being.
kids did not kill this creature, and when it
No.
blew up into a puff of smoke, they didn't commit murder on a creature.
They didn't do a murder. No, it's like it's a force rather than a living thing. And it took the form of one of its observers' worst fears. Because of their shifting ability, no one knew what a boggart looked like when it was alone, as it changed shape instantly upon encountering someone. When facing a boggart, it was best to have someone else along to try to confuse it, since facing more than one person at once made it indecisive towards determining what form it should take, usually resulting in an unfrightening combination of the victim's fears. And then... So let me look at some of it. There is a crap ton on the wiki about it, so I probably won't say it all, but really cool stuff about the boggart. Oh, I think here's what I want to say. Famous boggarts. Famous boggarts included the Old Boggle of Canterbury. I like that. We live in a neighborhood called Canterbury not too long ago. We were the Boggles of Canterbury.
We were.
Believed by local muggles to be a mad, cannibalistic hermit that lived in a cave. In reality, a particularly small boggart that had learnt how to make the most of echoes. You also had the bludgeoning boggart of Old London town. He had taken the form of a murderous thug that prowled the back streets of 19th century London, but could be reduced to a hamster with one simple incantation. And then finally, the Scottish screaming bogey of Straththuley. Some Straththuley, sorry. That had fed on the fears of local muggles to the point that it became an elephantine black shadow with glowing white eyes. That's terrifying. But a certain character who we can't name yet worked for the Ministry of Magic eventually trapped it in a matchbox. So there you go. There's some fun stuff about boggarts. And you use the ridiculous charm to fight against it, which was just like the spell they mentioned that turns it into something silly. And I think, that was all I have for this chapter. So that's it for chapter 7. Zach, did you have anything? Did you need to go to the restroom or anything like that?
I'm ready to rock and roll. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Dude, I'm so freaking ready to rock and roll.
So freaking roll. We never ate any Birdie Box every flavored beans. I'm gonna eat
I just realized. Wow, what a shame. What a shame.
What a shame.
Anyway.
I didn't miss a single one.
That's true. I would have had to eat one. Chapter 8, everybody, Flight of the Fat Lady. Everybody loves Defense Against the Dark Arts, except for Malfoy. Typical. Snape is not happy with Neville. Snape is not happy with Neville, who's up on him 2-0 right now after last chapter. Good for Neville.
Dunked on him.
Harry hates divination class because the professor thinks he's going to die. I like Pravarti and Lavender, kind of taking pity on him, saying they talk to him as if he was on a deathbed. But everybody hates care of magical creatures because all they do is take care of flubber worms, the old nasty white worms. Harry says, no worries, though. Quidditch is about to start, and he's hyped for that. They have a meeting with their team captain, Oliver Wood. It says that he spoke to them with this quiet sort of desperation. And there's this funny line, because I was just picturing how that would have come across. So there was a quiet sort of desperation in his voice as he addressed his 6 fellow team members. This is our last chance. My last chance to win the Quidditch Cup. That's how I pictured it after it said something like that. But Wood starts hyping the team up, though. I love this. He's like, we got superb chasers. All right. 2 unbeatable beaters. That's clever, Wood. Good job. He's like, and we got a seeker who carries us hard. All right. We've never lost once with this dude.
And it's a good thing because it's the most important position on the team.
Good thing he's the main character. Funny. I really like the moment with Fred and George hyping him up, though, because he's like, and then there's me. And Fred and George are like, hey, we think you're a great keeper. And Fred goes, a spanking good keeper.
Cracking good.
Cracking. Was it
cracking keeper. Yeah. Cracking keeper.
Mine says spanking.
Well, I like yours better.
You silly old chap. Another, what did I write? After practice one day, Harry shows up in the common room and everyone is excited. And he's like, yo, what's going on? What are we all excited about? And they're like, only the coolest thing, a trip to Hogsmeade. And we get a wah, wah, wah. Because Harry's like, I can't freaking go on that. It's probably dumb. Hogsmeade's probably stupid. Don't even want to go. I do love the Ron and Hermione moment in this section because Hermione goes, it's probably for the best, Harry. You shouldn't be out there anyway. And Ron's like, you should go ask McGonagall. Hermione's like, he can't go. And Ron literally says, Hermione, he can't be the only third year that doesn't go.
The voice of reason. The devil and the angel on the shoulders.
They really are in this moment. That's funny. Yeah. That'll be the meme for this week, probably. At one point, Crookshanks takes a dive at Scabbers, chases him through the common room, and Ron is really not happy about that. He's like, he heard the animal's weird, Hermione. All right, he heard me mention that Scabbers was in the bag.
The rucksack.
Anyway, the rucksack. The next day, they got some classes. Herbology's first. They're cutting up some puffapods. Then they move on to Transfiguration, where Harry decides he's going to ask old McG to let him go to Hogsmeade. Outside the class, though, all the G's are waiting to get in, and there's a bit of a fuss, bit of a crisis up at the front. And why is that, Sack? Because they got Binky. I think I said, why is that, Sack? I'm going to reset.
I know. I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or not.
and why is that, Sack? Because they got Binky. My boy Binky got, man.
Got.
That poor
by
little
a
bunny.
Daggum fox.
Yeah, Lavender's little baby bunny killed by a fox. Just got the news today. And do you know what day that is, Zach? Do you know what day that is?
Was it October 16th?
That's right. And
Oh
Lavender
my
remembers
gosh.
it, October 16th. And that's significant because that's the day Trelawney predicted, she foretold, she prophesied to watch out for something that she was dreading on that day. I'm just saying she should have been watching harder. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Crazy. Not a good Hermione
Probably
moment
happened earlier than October 16th, though.
Yeah, it's a bad Hermione moment because
It's my favorite Hermione moment.
Hermione kills it with logic. All right, don't get me wrong. She kills this moment because she's like, it's so funny because she goes up to Lavender and she's like, "What's wrong?" Well, why would you have been dreading it? Was it a baby? Was it ill? Like, it doesn't make sense if you were dreading it if it was a baby.
You only found out today.
Yeah, probably happened before. Like, she's 100% right. But this is not the time, Hermione. This is not the time.
It's that meme. Why are you booing? I'm right.
Dang it, that's going to be the other meme for this week. That's exactly what it is. So anyway, yeah, it's not a good Hermione moment. They go into the classroom, and at the end of Transfiguration, McGonagall reminds them to turn in their Hogsmeade permission forms. She's like, "Hey, I'm your freaking head of house. You should probably hand them in to me." And Harry hangs back and says, "Hey, McG, got a question." And I'll make it quick, dear listeners. She says, "No." How about no, Harry? You can't go to Hogsmeade. So he's a little bummed. Everyone tries to cheer him up. And my favorite moment of this chapter is definitely Percy trying to cheer Harry up. We're going to read this because it's so funny. "They make a fuss about Hogsmeade, Harry, but I assure you, it's not all it's cracked up to be. All right, the sweet shop's rather good, and Zonko's joke shop, frankly, dangerous. And yes, the Shrieking Shack's always worth a visit. But really, Harry, apart from that, you're not missing anything." It's just like
Harry's just like grumpy cat.
The third meme. It's the worst way to comfort somebody. He's like, "It's not that great. Yeah, they got this, and it's dope. They got this, and that's pretty sick. And they got this, and like super cool. Everybody has to go there at least once in their life. But I'm sure it's not even that cool."
And I like when Harry's trying to convince Mick G, saying, you know, those muggles, they don't understand permission slips. I mean, these forms, it makes no sense. They ain't got no quills.
Harry does a racism. He's like, you know, these muggies. All right, they're just ignorant. You know, McGonagall, you know the muggies. Because she's the one that called them the worst sort of muggles imaginable. All right, she would know.
Correct.
So it's Halloween morning, spooky, and everyone heads off to Hogsmeade except Harry and the unpopulars. I love Harry wandering around though, like his little just montage of like going from place to place, because you know he goes to the dorm and Colin's like, Harry, you're here.
Harry, come sit over here.
Yeah, you can hang out with me and my friends. Shout out to Jim Dale on his performance during this section. I love it. But Harry's like, I gotta go to the library. And then when he walks out, the fat lady's like, why'd you even wake me up? You're only in there a few minutes. What was the point? Then he gets to the library and he's like, I don't want to go to the library. He runs into Filch. Filch is like, the heck you doing? And then he sees Lupin. And Lupin invites him in to hang out for a bit. And I love the distinction here, because at one point it says, you know, Filch asks Harry, what are you doing? And Lupin also asks Harry, what are you doing? But there's a cool line where it says, the way Lupin asked was completely different than the way that Filch asked. But anyway, I love this. Lupin has a little jokey joke about the tea leaves. He goes like, he says, do you want some tea? Maybe we should take out the tea leaves, though. I assume you've had enough of those. It's a nice little dad joke for him. Lupin's such a bro. All right. Harry asks Lupin why he didn't let him face the boggart. You know, he's like, I'm not a soy boy. And Lupin, to Harry's surprise, drops a Voldy bomb. He's like, I thought it was obvious. I thought that boggart would turn into a Voldemort. And Harry says he was actually thinking of Dementors. And Lupin says, very wise. That would make you Winston Churchill, Harry. You get it? You get it, Zach? For listeners who don't know, it was Winston Churchill that said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I think it was Winston Churchill. I didn't Google it.
I think it was him. He was smoking a cigar, probably.
Yeah, him or one of the World War II guys. Reparo. Unfortunately, my history degree did not seem to take root at all. It was not Winston Churchill who said that. It was FDR. So, I mean, kind of right. One of those World War II guys. Anyway, back to the podcast. But anyway, Snape shows up, says, hey, Lupin, got you some drink. And he gives it to Lupin, all smoking. And he drops it off and he rolls on out. I love Harry's inner thought here, where he's like, it took everything Harry not to have to like smack it out of Lupin's hand. Like, don't freaking do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I do like this moment, because in this moment, Harry's trying to convince Lupin that Snape's a bad dude. And that like he even at one point says, some people say Snape would do anything to get this dark arts job. But what I like about this is that Lupin stays like respectful of his colleague the whole time. At one point, he doesn't even like acknowledge the worst claim that Harry makes. Like when Harry starts to insinuate that Snape might be out to kill him, Lupin doesn't even reply to that. He's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, you should probably go now, Harry. It's a good way to respect your colleagues. It's a good moment. But anyway, Hermione and Ron show back up later and they were like, place is sick, Harry. You should have been there. All right. They got all this super cool stuff. By the way, here's some candy. So they do hook him up with some candy. All right. Like, you couldn't be there, but we got you some Suvies. All right. They go to the feast and it's dope, good food. Ghosts are doing some entertainment. I'm always happy reading about Hogwarts feasts. Hogwarts feasts are my favorite moments throughout these books because they make me so happy and I feel like I'm living in the world.
They do look tasty. They do, or sound tasty.
Well, also like when you're watching the movie, those are also some of my favorite scenes. Really good. Anyway, they head back to the common room, but when they are at the corridor leading to the fat lady, something is amiss. All right, Percy, who's head boy, by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, Zach, just in case you didn't know, he's like, y'all, somebody better go get Daddy. All right, this is serious. So they send off for Daddy Dumbledore. He finally shows up, and the fat lady portrait, we finally see it, has been slashed. All right, and she is missing. Ooh.
Where does she be?
Where does she be? And I wrote down, what are you doing here, Lupin? So there's a moment when Dumbledore turns around after he sees the fat lady's missing, Snape, McGonagall, and Lupin all show up. And it's really funny because throughout the series, Snape and McGonagall are always the two that show up when something happens, and they're like Dumbledore's right and left hand person, and he like sends them off. So it just seems so out of place to like this one time. It's like, and Lupin, he shows up. But
and Gilderoy Lockhart was always right there.
And we can use my office.
Always right there.
We can use my office.
Yeah,
I know exactly just the counter curse. Peeves appears, though, and he tells Dumbledore that the fat lady has run off to the 4th floor. She's all ashamed. And why, you ask? Because her portrait was attacked. By who, you ask? Sirius Black. Dun, dun, dun. And that's the end of the chapter. Yay!
Yay!
Favorite lines. I only got one, Zach. What about you?
You've only got one? I've got 2. I had 2 and 2.
Hit me with it.
Hit you with it. So we kind of went over it, but the whole section where Hermione is trying to logically explain why to Lavender about Binky, I say, well, look at it logically, said Hermione, turning to the rest of the group like, come on, guys. Like I just related to that because I've been there more than once where I'm totally reading the room wrong. And I'm like, well, if you think about it logically, you know, and I'm missing like the empathy part that I needed to have been hitting. So that whole section I related, not Hermione bashing. I've been there.
Yeah. What it makes me think of is when, like, as a pastor, you're told that, like, when you have to comfort somebody who's going through a loss, that's
glad
not
that's you,
the
not
time.
me.
Yeah, they're like, that's not the time to get like theological, you know, and to start like, you know, if somebody says something like technically, biblically inaccurate about the afterlife or whatever, it's like, that's not the time to correct them, you know, or if they have like major questions about the faith, that's not the time to get too in the weeds on things. That's the time to like comfort them. And then you have the discussion later. That's what that moment made me think of. I mentioned this, but the favorite line I wrote down was the moment when Fred and George were like, we think you're great, Wood. Spanking keeper. All right. I like that one a lot. What was your other favorite line?
My other favorite line is, and my favorite lines are just things I think are funny or whatnot, but the section where Ron, don't hurt him, squealed Hermione. The whole common room was watching. Ron whirled the bag around, Crookshanks still clinging to it, and Scabbers came flying out. So I'm imagining like Ron just like slinging around in a circle.
Bringing around town.
And Crookshanks is like slinging around too. Just a very comedic visual.
Good stuff.
So that's
good
why
stuff.
I wrote it down.
I did want to say too, so because I mentioned that I really enjoyed Lupin and Harry talking with one another, and just to like re-clarify a little more, to add to my thought from earlier about Lupin not answering Harry. Sometimes like that might sound like you like, shouldn't you answer his question or shouldn't you correct him or whatever? I thought it was a good moment and said a lot about Lupin, because there's times that you can like correct a wrong thought, and there's other times that it's like something is so outlandish or inappropriate that you shouldn't address it at all. And that's what that moment kind of felt like to me. So there was a lot of wisdom from Lupin in that conversation, I felt.
Yeah.
I even went back over to try to find like a favorite line, and I was like, there's not necessarily a favorite line. It's just a good section.
Yeah. Even Dumbledore doesn't answer questions sometimes.
Yeah, or like Aslan in Narnia. Half the time he doesn't answer questions. Like I can think of there's a moment specifically when Lucy looks at him and asks him a question, he doesn't answer, and she like has a full-on conversation with herself like, okay, yeah, you're right. And he's like over there just not saying anything. But
everyone has the right to plead the fifth.
I played it fast. And then, so that's all of our favorite lines. Moving on now to our Transfigurations section. All right. So basically, we got a lot of omissions to point out here. A whole lot of omissions, but for actual differences. So when Harry goes up to McGonagall to ask her about like, hey, can you sign my permission slip, Professor? That takes place outside the clock tower in the movie. In the movie, they're outside the clock tower, just in front of the fountain. But in the book, it's in McGonagall's classroom. And then another one, when Lupin and Harry have their chit chat about like, hey, why did you stop the boggart from facing me? In the movie, that takes place on the bridge. There's a big wooden bridge outside. But in the book, as we already read, it takes place in his classroom or his office. Another one, Peeves isn't there. So at the end, when Peeves, tells Dumbledore where the fat lady is, doesn't happen in the movie that way because again, we don't got no Peeves. But in the movie, what happened, the fat lady says what happened herself because they look around and actually see her. And then the final book to movie difference is that so in the book we mentioned earlier, Dumbledore turns around and the professors Lupin, McGonagall, and Snape all show up. But in the movie, none of those three characters are there at that moment. Only Filch appears, and he's already standing there next to Dumbledore. And that is somewhat interesting of a change because Dumbledore sends McGonagall off to go get Filch to start the search. But it's funny. It's like the movie shows what would have happened because Filch is the one, Dumbledore asks, get Filch so we can find the fat lady. But in the movie, Filch is already there and he's like, hey, Dumbledore says, hey, we need to round up the ghosts and find him. And Filch goes, well, she's right there. So Filch does find him in the movie. So it's like, that's a cool little connection. Yeah. It's like he was going to find him anyway. Let's just have him there. All right. And now moving on to our Golden Snitch section, our lore grabs, behind the scenes, tids and bits. And I just realized as I'm writing this, I never looked up our Golden Snitches. Give me we're going to need to edit a little bit. First one, the Red Cap. There's something they are learning about. The students are learning about in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. The Red Cap was a small, dwarf-like magical beast that inhabited wherever human blood had been shed, such as in dungeons of castles, the potholes of old battlefields, or holes in the ground. Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beast book wrote, these dwarf-like creatures live in holes on old battlegrounds or wherever human blood has been spilled. Although easily repelled by charms and hexes, they are very dangerous to solitary muggles, whom they will attempt to bludgeon to death on dark nights. Red caps are most prevalent in Northern Europe. That's kind of crazy. It's like, by the way, they will bludgeon a muggle.
They will commit a murder.
They will commit a murder. Some history about them. The Enchanted Garden that the Wizarding School's Potions Championship took place in housed an ancient battlefield infested with red caps, which competitors must have evaded or defeated in order to pass through. Behind the scenes, the Red Cap is a real mythical creature. Supposedly, it will murder any traveler who strays into its home, dyeing its hat with their blood. That's where they get the name Red Cap. That's crazy. And then we got our next Golden Snitch, Kappas. The Kappa was a Japanese water demon that fed on human blood. Daggum, these things love their human blood. They were known for strangling humans that invaded their shallow ponds. The
Kappa, people just defending their homeland.
Yeah. The Kappa resembled a scale-covered monkey with webbed hands and a water-filled depression atop its head. Have you seen the Fantastic Beast movies?
The first one.
There's a scene, I forget which one, but there is a scene where you see one. It looks pretty sick, not gonna lie. I think it's the second Fantastic Beast movie. But the water in their head hollow was the source of the beast's strength. If you could trick it into bowing, the water in its head would spill out, weakening it. Alternatively, one could protect themselves from a Kappa by throwing a cucumber inscribed with the person's name as a means of appeasement. Why that works? I don't know. Cucumber.
Give it some food.
They lived in shallow water, mainly in Japan. Oh, this is funny. When substituting for Professor Lupin, Professor Snape incorrectly asserted that they were commonly found in Mongolia. That's funny.
That's close enough.
Behind the scenes, in Japan, some cucumber dishes, such as cucumber sushi rolls and cucumber pickles, are named after the creature Kappa. This ties it in with that thing we said earlier. And then that's about all I got. All right. The next golden snitch that I need to look up. Sorry about that, Zach.
It's okay.
The next one, the Puffapod. Oh my gosh. All right. This is sick. So, listeners, I've been editing this out, but I forgot to look up my golden snitches, and I'm having to do it in real time. But the Puffapod, I recognize it. It's from the Chamber of Secrets video game. If you play the Chamber of Secrets video game, it's those like giant like pods on the ground that shoot out poisonous gas that you have to like hit once in order to stop.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that's bringing back some memories.
Yeah.
I'm in the brain wrinkles.
A puffapod was a magical plant that produced large pink seed pods full of shining beans, which instantly flowered when they came into contact with any solid object. The spores of a puffapod could cause dizziness and could also be used in potion making. Trolls appeared to be allergic to puffapods, sneezing whenever they bloomed. Puffapods could be found in Rubeus Hagrid's garden. The puffapod patch in the Forgotten Grounds at Hogwarts also contains some growing puffapods. In the first and second video games, puffapods can be picked up and thrown, as well as being exploded with the knockbacks jinx. In these video games, puffapods do not have flowers. Instead, they are fleshy growths. Oh, yeah. That can be picked up. They can be picked up from their roots. In the console version of the Philosopher's Stone video game, puffapod spores are an ingredient in the antidote to common poisons. However, the recipe of this potion given in the game differs from the one given on Pottermore. It is possible that this was an alternative recipe. Wrong.
So alternative means wrong.
And then I got two more for you, Zach. Two more
I'm
facts.
so excited.
Yeah. All right, Grindy Low, everybody. Grindy Low, low. Let's see, it's a reference to it.
So you got Grindy Low.
Ooh. From the Grindy Low, no, whatever. Grindy Low was a small horned, pale-skinned. It was a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people. No, it's not. It's a Grindy Low. It was a small horned, pale green-skinned water demon native to Great Britain and Ireland.
With the apple bottom jeans?
With the apple bottom jeans. Watch out. The first stage of a Grindy Low's life cycle was the larval stage, where it was referred to as a gripped. That sounds like a slur. Oh my gosh, this is gold right here. It was known by several local names, such as a pollywiggle, and a candy pole, and a Jarvis. Dude, I like pollywiggle all day, bro. Aggressive towards witches and wizards and muggles alike, the Grindy Low was only ever tamed by mer people, the half-fish water dwellers who sometimes kept them as pets. Grindy Lows survive for the most part on fish, algae, and small sea creatures. However, occasionally they would eat humans. For this reason, they're classified as dark creatures. These creatures were found in the weed beds at the bottom of the lakes in Great Britain and Ireland. Let's see what else. Anything interesting? There was a black market trade in Grindy Lows, as some wizards enjoyed them illegally as a delicacy. Well, you know what? That's fair. They eat us. It's all right if we eat them too, I guess.
Turn them into sushi.
Yeah.
Bet it would taste good fried.
Most things do. Most things do. The Grindy Low had long, brittle fingers, which, despite their fragility, were rather strong. As Zach so intelligently answered earlier, the trick to escaping a Grindy Low was to break their grip on a person. The revulsion jinx would help with this task, as underwater it shot jets of boiling hot water, which would scald their skin and cause them to release their grip and retreat. Well, that's silly, because that's not breaking it. That's burning it. The frick you mean? Let's see. Behind the scenes, the Grindy Low is a name for a type of water spirit said to grab little children from the edge of a body of water and drown them. This is a wonderful episode.
My fears.
In the film adaptation of the fourth movie, the Grindylow is a small creature with tentacles and 2 dangling tentacles on its head. In the book, there is no such description. They don't got tentacles in the book, all right? The book also describes Grindylows as sickly green, but in the films, they're depicted as beige. Come on, movies, get it right.
Beige.
Originally, the Grindylow were meant to be more like anglerfish, according to the Creature Vault. I guess that's interesting. Anything else? That seems good enough to me. All right. And then the last one, I don't have to look this one up. My last golden snitch is the Hogwarts Ghost Show. So it talks about that they during the feast at the end of that last chapter, the Hogwarts ghosts did like an aerial flying show together. The reason I have that down as a golden snitch is because if you go to Universal Studios, and you can look this up on YouTube, they do light shows on the Hogwarts castle at night. It's really cool. It's like a laser show type deal, projector show. And during Christmas time, the Hogwarts ghost, one of the shows that they do is the Hogwarts ghosts all like singing a carol ominously and floating around the castle. It's a really cool looking thing. Encourage you to check out a video on that because it's super dope. And that's all I got for Golden Snitches. All right, everybody. So now we're going to move on. We're about to move on to our restricted section. All right. The Prison of Azkaban, if you will.
Under the Dementor's hood.
Ooh, that's horrifying. But we, before we get going, and for listeners, if you don't want spoilers, I just want to say thank you for listening. You're going to need to get on out of here now. All right. I enjoyed having you on. Looking forward to having you back next week to listen, but get on out of here, listeners, if you don't want no spoilers. Zach, you're not on social media anywhere, so
nope.
I don't imagine you want to
I'm
plug
on YouTube.
Anything. You're on YouTube?
No. Well, I work for a pool cleaning company that also produces household chemicals. So go buy you some household chemicals to support me.
Is my job. Any household chemical?
Most of them, yeah. We do.
Heck yeah.
Comet and Lysol, I believe.
That's the power of Lysol.
Spick and Span. We do all those.
Do you Pine Sol?
I think so.
That's the power of Pine Sol, baby. I got to say it.
I think so. I don't quote me. I don't want my company to come chasing me down. Kind of just we're doing it off the cuff. But I know we also do vinegar and do some other and bottle for other brands as well.
So listeners, we encourage you to clean your freaking house. All right.
Stay nasty people. Put Harry Potter down for 5 minutes and clean your sink and your toilet.
You freaking nasty. Anyway, not my listeners. My listeners are so hygienic. They're so fresh. So clean, spick and span, as it were.
That's right.
Moving on now to our restricted section. All right, Zach, I got a list of some things. Did you want to say anything first, or did you want me to rock through my list?
I teased a restricted section piece in the.
I'm glad you remembered. I never remember when I bring it up.
I highlighted it in my Word document so that I would remember it. So there is someone who knows what the true form of a boggart is when they're alone. And that is Mr. Mad Eye Alistair Moody. I think I got that name mixed up. Mm-hmm. But Mad Eye Moody in the 5th book, when Molly says, I think there's a boggart in this, I think it's a dresser. She said, they're like, do you want us to go take everything? She said, no, I'm going to wait for Mad Eye and have him take a look to be sure. And in the kitchen or the dining room area, he just wiggles his eye on up there and just looks straight through his noggin. And he sees right through. He's like, yep, that's a boggart. So he not only can he see through that dresser and see the boggart, he can identify it. Say, that's a gosh darn boggart. I just know what boggart when I see one. It's that one.
Yeah. I said earlier that I disagree. I don't. I actually do. I buy that theory. I have heard a counter argument, which is that the boggart would probably would just look like whatever Moody feared the most. However, the reason I disagree with that theory is that I don't think the boggart could know, because typically it talks about how the boggart instantly turns into whatever the person fears the most. But when it comes out of the cabinet, it's like looking around. It's like whose person do I gauge? Who do I turn into? And so it's not like it's not omniscient, as it were. It doesn't seem that way anyway.
That's a big word. That's a $5 word right there.
Yeah. However, I think if you wanted to say that it would turn into Moody's worst fear, I think it's a decent argument. I don't like, my headcanon is what you said, that Moody knows what they look like.
And he ain't telling. He's keeping he keeps some
secrets in the frosting, but I'll never tell. Did you have any more?
That's all I got for restricted section. I might come up with some more stuff off the cuff.
Well, one of the ones that I had was, we mentioned earlier, when Ron says to Hermione, like, I bet your boggart would be you getting a 9 out of 10. Do you actually remember what Hermione's boggart is?
It's Professor McGonagall saying she failed all her classes or something like that.
Yeah. So when they
failed all her owls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny that Ron says that because, like you said, at the end of the book, when she has to go through the practical exam, that's what it is. Like Lupin sets up an obstacle course for them, and Hermione does so well until she gets to the boggart, and it's McGonagall telling her she's failed all her exams.
And she went running away crying, which is what I was referencing, and it didn't go well.
Oh.
Yeah. I have to explain a joke. It's a good one.
Welcome to my world.
No, I laugh at all your jokes, Barry. You don't have to explain a thing.
Yeah. I love you.
We're best friends.
No, the other one I had, Ron calling Crookshanks like funny. I just thought that was ironic because in that moment, both animals are present, his Scabbers and Hermione's Crookshanks, and he calls out Crookshanks for acting weird. When it's just ironic, Ron, ironic because it's like, your rat is weird, that it's lived this long, that it's been this sick. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff about your rat. And your rat is also, the one that is a freak, a traitorous freak. So I thought that was worth mentioning. The other one I had, this is just kind of silly, but let me find the page. When Lupin drinks his drink from Snape, once it's drained, there is a funny line. It said, the empty goblet was still smoking. And I was like, oh, goblet of fire. That's not I don't think it's an illusion at all, but that's just what popped in my head when I read that line. That's the next book. But it's a goblet of smoke, I guess, not a goblet of fire. And then finally, my last one, when they are at the feast. So Harry is worried that Snape has poisoned Lupin, and throughout the feast, he's like, was it just my imagination, or was it just Harry's imagination? Or did Snape like continuously look over at Lupin like every once in a while? And what is meant for the reader to infer from that is that Snape had poisoned Lupin, and now he's like watching to see if it has any effects. That's kind of like what's going through Harry's head. I think what we're meant to infer. However, what I think is actually the case is, it's that time. It's that time of the month for old Remus. That time of the month.
It's on a cycle.
Yeah. And Snape, I think, is just like checking to make sure that he's not like, that his potion worked, that he's not having any adverse reactions, one to the potion, but also the potion's working. So he's like looking over like, you good? You don't feel like eating some steak?
Extra rare.
Killing some kids? You don't want to do that? All right, cool. So I think that's why he's looking at him a lot during the feast.
Pretty rich from a guy who abuses children at every turn.
Yeah,
verbally.
I'm going to say, yeah. That is the next step. Verbal abuse, cannibalism. It's right.
It's a slippery slope, baby.
Right,
it's a slippery slope.
That's all the restricted section stuff I got. Did you have anything else?
So this is off the cuff, but let's talk about, since Crookshanks is in the books.
Oh,
what are your thoughts on the fan theory that Crookshanks is James and Lily's cat?
Yeah.
A long time ago, strictly based on the fact that Lily mentioned they had a cat. It's got to be Crookshanks.
It's got to be Crookshanks.
Guys.
No, yeah, we mentioned this on a previous episode too. I love it. I love this theory. I think it's I love that it ties the world together a little more. I like the idea that Harry has some form of connection to a character, because as we know, everybody that he has a connection with before Hogwarts dies, basically. So either his parents or
they're all
his like all the Marauders die, Dumbledore dies, like everybody that he could have been connected with to before died, and he lost all of his home, his original home. And so I like the idea that Crookshanks is his. And I think it makes a little sense, because she makes a little more sense than it normally would, because Crookshanks is part lynx, which is a magical creature, and like she can live. I think it's like a similar deal to Scabbers, in that she like has lived longer than a normal cat, so,
like 20, 25 years or something like that.
Big fan.
I don't know. I disagree with it because
I
just think it's silly. You're muting me. All right. See, it's been fun being your best friend. Goodbye.
No, go ahead.
I just think it's
crap on everybody's
wild and
dreams.
It's not a great. I just
it's a
think
magical world, Zach. What are you talking? Are you looking for realisticness here?
I don't like that everything's got to be interconnected. Like everyone's got to be related, and Crookshanks does not. I don't know. But Crookshanks does not like give any like recognition and doesn't recognize Harry at all. Only recognizes Scabbers and that is actually support for the theory though that I disagree with. That
she
recognizes is Crookshanks a girl or a boy? I don't know.
Crookshanks is a boy.
Is a boy. He
so
recognizes.
I think we may have been saying girl this whole time. I'm not sure, but it's a boy.
Anyway, that is all I got for restrictedness.
Same here. So
you look tired.
You're tired. Shut up. Your mom.
I wish.
Dumb. Your mom's not dumb. I didn't say that.
No, she is retired though.
She is retired. Well, Zach, thank you so much for coming on. One, it was awesome just to get to talk to my buddy and hang out with you. He did a silly face, listeners.
Yeah.
It was a good time hanging out with you. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It is late, so we're going to go to bed. We're going to get some rest, catch up on some Z's. But listeners, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked this show and you want to share it with all your Potter friends, please do so. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a review on whatever podcasting app you are streaming this from. That helps me out a lot. What was funny was at the end of season 1, I was like, this is great. I've gotten so many reviews. I have a new goal. I want to get to this many. And then all of season 2, I got like 2 more reviews. I was like, dang it. We really had some momentum going there. But no, it is, I do enjoy the reviews that I get and things that you guys say, the emails. Feel free to write into me, all that good stuff. But have a wonderful week, everybody. Next week, we'll be covering chapters 9 and 10, because that's how numbers work. And Zach, thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you.
I had a wonderful time.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Stop. All right, goodbye, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right, I made this.